Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Pyathlon. In today's video, we'll be talking about the Inplace parameter that you can use when you're using Pandas in Python. We'll talk about what does the Inplace operator do, how you can use it, and we have some included examples. And in terms of prerequisite knowledge, you don't really need a lot of prerequisite knowledge for this course. Anyone can understand this material, but of course some basic Python knowledge and some basic Pandas knowledge will go a long way in helping you understand what this operator does. So we're just going to go ahead and dive right in. The first thing we're going to do is import pandas as PD. Remember, PD is the standard alias you'll use when you import pandas. So we'll go ahead and run that. And in the next line, we're just going to create a basic data frame that'll have 3 columns with name, age, and occupation. And we'll have 10 instances of data, or 10 rows in our data frame. And we'll just go ahead and run the head function so we can look at our data. And as you can see, the way we create this data frame is not in a sorted order, so we're going to go ahead and sort it. And the way we'll do that is we have our data frame df, and we'll call the sort values function, and we'll pass in by equals names as our argument, and that means we're just going to sort it by the names in alphabetical order. And we're actually sorting our data frame. But are we sorting our data frame? So remember here, we call it our sort function. And the thing about the Inplace operator is by default it's set to false. So calling this sort values function without the Inplace operator, it's the same as calling it with Inplace equals false. And I know we haven't really dove into what Inplace is yet, but once we run this code, I think you'll have an intuitive understanding of what it is. So we'll go ahead and run that. And you'll see whether or not we have no Inplace operator or we set it equal to false, we get the same output. Now, you might think that calling this sort values function has actually sorted our data frame. So let's go ahead and run df.head so we can look at our data. And when you run that, you'll see that your names are no longer in alphabetical order. So what's going on here, where you can run this sort values function and sort your data frame, and you can see the sorted output here, but then when you actually look at your data, you see it remains unsorted. What's going on here? And that's exactly what the Inplace operator does. Inplace is an operator that tells Pandas whether or not you want whatever function you're calling, in this place the sort function, to be applied directly to your data frame, or if you want it to just simply return a data frame that has the value sorted. So when we have Inplace equals false here, we're getting this output because the sort values function is returning a copy of our data frame that has the value sorted, but it's leaving our initial data frame df unsorted. And that's why when we just look at df, it remains unsorted. So let's go ahead and see what happens if we run sort values by names, but we set Inplace equals to true. You'll see we didn't get any output when we ran that. And the reason why that is because when Inplace is true, you don't actually get a return value, but instead the sort values operates directly on the data frame that we use to call the function. And now when we look at our data, we can see it is sorted, because by setting Inplace to true, we did that sort operation directly onto our data frame, as opposed to returning a copy of our data. So let's go ahead and recreate our data frame. And we're going to have a sorted data frame. We're going to create a new variable called sorted data frame, and we're going to set that equals to our original data frame, but we're going to sort Inplace equal to false. And now add some extra cells under here. So let's do that. And then let's look at sorted df.head. You can see our names are sorted here, because remember, when Inplace is false, you actually returned a copy of that data frame. And here we're storing the copy of that data frame in this sorted df variable name. So now what if we do the same thing and we have sorted df2, but this time we have Inplace equal to true. So let's go ahead and run that. And now let's look at our data in sorted df2. And you'll see we're getting an error. And let's look at the type of it. You'll see the type is actually a none type for this sorted df2. So what's going on here? Why can we assign sorted df to Inplace equals false and it gives us a sorted data frame, but as soon as we set Inplace equal to true, and try to store that in a variable, we get a none-type object and we can't look at our data anymore. And that's because what we talked about earlier, where when Inplace is false, Pandas actually returns a copy and we can store that copy in the variable. When Inplace is true, it operates on the initial data frame. And so if you try to store that, because we don't have a return value, you can't store it in a variable name like this. And that's why we're getting the none-type object. So I hope that cleared up some of the confusion that you might have around this particular operator in Python. Leave a comment if there's anything else in Pandas or in Python you have questions on that you'd like me to explain in the video. And as always, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We have a lot of Python content coming in the future, and we also have videos on Raspberry Pis, Amazon Web Services, and a whole lot of other technologies on our channel. So make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.